Hello everyone, welcome to When Saturdays Comes with me, Dry Bright. So we've just had Chris Wilder's presser this afternoon, about 30 minutes long. I'll put it directly on after me for you to watch at your pleasure. He had a fair bit to have to say, as you know he would do. I think the news is that, well, everybody really wants to know about who's available. So everybody is available who's trained this week. Gus Eimer, Chong, Blaster, Davies are all back in contention. Chris is not giving anything away. You can't blame him for that, for who's going to be available and who isn't. Patrick Bamford will play some part in the game, of course, as well. Chris Wilder talked about him quite a bit, about he wanted a number 9 into the side, gives him different options to play. So he'll be playing some part in the game as well. It's going to be a tight, hard affair, which we all know it's going to be anyway. Wednesday will have renewed optimism, of course. The administration getting that sorted out, which is a good thing for their club as well. So they have renewed optimism for that game. Whatever happens, they've got to stick to the game plan. They've got to stay calm in these situations. They know what sort of responses they get from the fans, from the Wednesday fans. They've heard it all before. It's a big 3 points at stake for the team as well. They're not afraid of losing. It's not a matter about that. They look forward. They enjoy the winning feeling more, of course. So it's been 2012 since last time Wednesday beat United 1-0 back in the day. So they'll be looking to try and improve that record, won't they, at all? There's been a change of referee as well. David Webb will now be refereeing the game, experienced referee, which I think we need in this game. David Webb will let the game flow. He will pull things up as well as and when it's required to do so. So it's very important that we get a good referee, because we've had some dross ones, haven't we, in season, for I think both sides have as well, haven't we? So let's please we've got a good referee, hopefully on Sunday, to do that. It could be an interesting game. As we all know, it's going to be tight. Might be a bit odd goal in it. I think Wednesday will come at United a little bit. I personally think, and I said before in my last video, Wednesday are slight favourites this time. They've got renewed optimism coming in, big crowd, full house, get them behind the team. But again, Sheffield United, Chris Wilder, I've seen all this before. You've got some big experienced players in the side, Danny Ings, Tom Davies, Gus Eimer and Callum O'Hare. Campbell, they've all played in these big games before. They know what to expect. They know how to handle these situations. So it's a matter about keeping calm and playing, the way they should be playing, and take the chances when they come along, and hopefully go on, hopefully, to win the game and get 3 points for the Blades. I hope everybody enjoys it. Stay safe and look forward to the game. And let's hope there's no trouble out there in Sheffield land after the game as well, and everybody gets home nice and safe, and we've enjoyed a good afternoon of football. So up the Blades, keep the faith. Without further ado, Chris Wilder's presser on straight after me. Up the Blades.
Chris, how have preparations gone for this game this week?
Well, we've obviously had quite a big lead up to it, so I think we're all itching to get the game underway as well. So we've worked on stuff off the back of the QPR game. Said afterwards, a bit frustrated, obviously, that we didn't get the win that we were all after. But data stats are all pointing in the right direction. Our eyes are all pointing in direction as well. Some key players coming back in, and hopefully some involved on Sunday makes us definitely a stronger outfit. And hopefully with the work that we've done over the last couple of weeks, we can take into Sunday's game.
What are these games like?
Well, they always have a bit of everything, don't they? Really hard to predict. Pretty much as we talked about on your show the other night. Usually tight affairs decided by a bit of magic or a mistake. Not usually one-way affairs. So we're expecting their best. We've watched them as they've watched us, and Henrik have talked about that. The work that goes into analysing them as much as they've analysed us. So we know they've got threats. We know that they'll come with a renewed optimism and belief off the back of what's happened over the last month, especially at the ground, the environment, the atmosphere, the emotion that's always attached to these games. You have to be fired up. I think historically, there was something said on my first time taking my team to Hillsborough in 2017 by Carlos. It's just another game. It isn't. And I know Henrik won't be approaching it that way, and I've certainly not approached the last 6 that way.
Is there a bit more pressure on United? Is there a bit more expectation given the situation that Sheffield Wednesday are in?
No, I think it's anybody can dress anything up in terms of the league position or last season or whatever their position or whatever. It's whatever happens on the day really that counts. How both teams handle the emotion, handle the big moments, produce their best performances, stick to the game plan, execute their game plan to the best of their ability. There's enough pressure put on my players and my team by myself than anybody else to go and perform in a certain way. You want to get the balance right. You don't overcook it, but you certainly, as you can understand, definitely they'll know their responsibilities to themselves, to the team. It's a big 3 points at stake as well, to the supporters and to what it means to everybody connected to our football club in going there and winning a game of football. Said all along, one of the biggest things that I wanted to do when I came in 2016 is dominate the city, and we've managed to gradually turn that around, and I want to keep that going. And the players know exactly my feelings on that subject.
How do you find a visit to Hillsborough?
Everything that you would expect from an opposing manager, especially maybe after it's been ramped up a few times as well. I think if we went there in 2017, we were looked at as this team that's just come up and maybe more of a friendlier feel about it. But I think as time goes by and as positions change and as wins become more consistent with us and not being beat since 2012 and not being beaten in the last 6 games, and I think as well maybe the environment and the hostility in and around the city ramps up. Have we brought it on ourselves a little bit? Yeah, of course. But I'm not going to apologise about that. I'm a manager, got responsibility, but I'm a fan as well. I'm doing the same things after a game that I was doing when I was 18, 19, 20, 25, 30, 35. So that's not going to change me. Yeah, listen, we're after a win as well because the results not what we would have expected from the start of the season, and from my point of view, I want to improve our league position. So the pressure on us to go and produce, but something that players should absolutely thrive on and love, going into somebody's backyard when there's 30-odd thousand supporters having a pop at you. You stick your chest out, you take a big deep breath, and you show what you're about, show what your character's about, show what your personality's about, and I don't have to justify anything in terms of what we've achieved over a number of years, and especially in the times that we've gone there. We'll go there understanding the big challenge, that there's going to be a big start, there's going to be some sustained pressure that we're going to have to overcome, there's going to be a team of incredibly focused, committed players that we're against, and that is all credit to Henrik in terms of what he's produced and what he's achieved in a short period of time with the hand that he was dealt. But if we're going to be that team that I expect us to be, we have to overcome that and play our game and get the result that we're all after.
Thanks for your time, Chris.
Cheers.
Hi Chris,
Dan.
I just want to ask you about Patrick Bamford, the signing. Obviously that gives you, we talked about the options that gives you up front. How does that affect the other players in the group as well? Does it put a bit more pressure on Ty and Tom Cannon and Danny Ings for their place as well?
It shouldn't do, but it really shouldn't do. Maybe a little bit of a disappointing aspect of it, but it certainly has. And I think I've seen a lift in the general standard when you usually bring good players into your group, and we have done in Gyro and Pat, yeah. And Danny's got fit, and Gus is back training, and Chong's back training, and our Blaster's back training, and the other players that have been out injured. Tom Davis is back training, and in the group, all of a sudden you see it rising, yeah. The levels rising. Good players should embrace good players joining the football club, and we've signed a really good player.
Yeah, I want to ask you about as well the last striker to come in having been at Leeds and going to a Sheffield derby, Bobby Davison back in the day. You'd
For
take
Bob,
that again, wouldn't you?
Oh, definitely. So I played with Bob at Rotherham, so I've known him for a long time. But what a way, as he did, to put himself in the folklore of Sheffield United in terms of what he did in that fabulous. I was just talking to Jamie Oyland actually today about it, because me and him went to the game, another game that I never played in. But me and him went to the game, and we were sat behind the goal when obviously Bob and Dane scored those goals. So we'd love a repeat of that, but we know we're going to have to play well. We're going to have to deal with those moments that we talked about, and we're going to have to produce big moments of the like of what Dane and Bobby produced that night.
I was going to say, whenever a derby comes round, the same old names come out. Osaba scoring, Duffy's goal, Dane and Bobby, like we talked about. I guess, as well as the current challenge of winning the game of football, there's a chance for these players to put themselves in that group, isn't it? That bracket. Is that a powerful thing for them?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we've done a presentation, and we've put a picture up of us behind our supporters, in front of our supporters. Sorry, on that day, March, maybe. Yeah, March, April time. So we want another picture going up.
I guess. Again, you talked about it's important in these environments, isn't it, for the players and managers to sort of keep calm. But when things are heightened and everything's 100%, 100 miles an hour, does it become more difficult to sort of make those clear decisions, or is it just a case of taking that out of it and focusing?
Well, the better players, the good players, do that. That's the difference, because the top players play under that pressure week in, week out in the top of the Premier League, and that's what makes the difference between average players, good players, and incredibly good top players. That when the pressure's on, when the bullets are getting fired, everybody makes those calm decisions. There's nothing wrong with a bit of fight. There's nothing wrong with pride and determination and desire, and both teams will have that in buckets. But ultimately, when that ball rolls, it's who implements the game plan the best, and how many players make right decisions, how many players play well on the day, and what team plays well. Sometimes the best team doesn't always win. We understand that, but we'll give ourselves a great opportunity if we play in the fashion and the manner that I know we can play, and if we can, then of course up against big challenges. But I'm sure that they're not underestimating us as well in terms of the players that we've got. I don't think they're looking at the league position and thinking that this is a team that's really, really struggling. We've not got the results that we wanted. That's been the frustrating thing, and I think we all know that. We've self-inflicted unforced errors, especially in the losing run that we had, the 3 games. We all understand that, the goals that we conceded. We have that ability to cut those unforced errors out, and we have the ability to produce big moments, and we need to get both boxes right. I think the bit in the middle will be scrappy at times. We'll try and take control of the game. They'll try and take control of the game through Barry Bannon, who's an outstanding operator, who's been the heartbeat of that football club for a number of years, and rightly so. So we understand they can produce big moments. He produced a big moment a couple of weeks ago. But I think they'll look at us and the players that we've got and understand that we're a threat as well.
Yeah. So this is your, I think, 7th Steel City derby,
yeah.
Right? Whether it's your 7th, your 3rd, your 1st, whatever. I guess these are the occasions, aren't they, that when you grow up kicking a ball around in a playground, these are what you dream about, aren't they? These big occasions.
Well, yeah. Personally, I said that I didn't play in one. I didn't manage to play in one. So the next best thing is being involved in 6. So there's no thought in my head of a negative day. Yeah. That isn't underestimating Sheffield Wednesday. We've watched all their games. We know that they've been pretty unfortunate in some games as well. I think that 3 hits for Middlesbrough, 3 hits for Coventry, 3 hits for another couple of clubs that have played there in front of 12, 13, 14,000 with no atmosphere there at all. So, we're going into a different challenge. Yeah. We're taking on a different animal completely. But this is part and parcel of football, and you have to deal with these situations and overcome them if you want to get the result that we're all after.
Yeah. Just finally from me, obviously a change of ref, which you'll have seen. Obviously, David Webb. You talked about him previously about, I think he did the Leeds game. You talked about how he understood the game, the magnitude of it, and let it sort of flow a little bit. Obviously, you'll be wanting to that to happen again.
Yeah, in the right way. There's two competitive teams out there, so understanding the occasion is key for an experienced ref, and rightly so. And we feel, this is, even though league positions are not great for both football clubs, this is the standout game of the weekend, and we should have the best possible referee to manage the game, and hopefully that's all he'll do. He'll manage the game. He'll not want to be the centre of attention like we've seen so far this season in a few games, and I'm sure he'll get on with it. He'll pull up stuff that he needs to pull up, and he'll let it flow when he needs to let it flow, and that's the reason he's an experienced referee and he's been given the game of this magnitude.
Cheers, Chris. Good luck.
Cheers, Dan.
Hi, Chris.
Hey, Stu.
Just on that subject of experience, but thinking about the players, how important is experience of derbies, experience generally on these days?
Yeah, we talked about it this morning, and Danny Ings has played in a Portsmouth Southampton derby. He played in a Liverpool Everton one. He talked about one where Burnley had not won for 36 years, I think, at Blackburn, and ended up there. So there's experience of that right the way through. Boys that have played here last season will have experienced two tight Sheffield derbies and would have enjoyed winning in both of those games. So I think all your group will be littered with it, but it doesn't always, because sometimes the naivety of youth is better than the experience of defeat and negativity. Thankfully, we've not had that feeling, and I certainly don't want that for everybody connected to the football club. But we can talk about it. We can talk about fire and ice. We can talk about controlling your emotions, being fired up for it, making sure you get the balance right, everything connected. Off the pitch, the welcome that the lovely welcome that we'll get and receive. The start of the game, which I've witnessed that twice now. The start last season was on top. They started the better and really got on top and put us on the back foot in the first 10 or 15 minutes. A little bit self-inflicted at times watching that game back, and obviously the start that we had when we went there and won as well. So we understand, and even in that little period just after half time where when we won in 2017, where I've gone on record and saying it's possibly the loudest environment and situation I've ever been involved in, when they obviously got it back to 2 each. So we're going to have to deal with all stuff like that. We're going to have to deal with mistakes. We're going to have to deal with the emotion of it. We're going to have to deal with, as I said, a team that has got a renewed optimism and ambition, and certainly a fan base that will be after our 2,000 supporters and whatever it is, the 30 of us that step into their backyard.
What motivates you more on days like that? Is it having the nights that you've been able to have on the back of victories, or is it not wanting to have to walk around Sheffield as a losing?
No, it's not the fear of it's not the fear of losing. It's the elation of winning that drives you. You can't fear losing. If we lose, we lose, and there's a reason why. But it's the ambition that we have. The cagey affairs, and you don't want to go gung-ho and open up and it be like a game of basketball, but the ambition and the feeling of winning. Then when that goes from a personal point of view, from a manager point of view to a supporter point of view afterwards, and that feeling that has been with the football club for a number of years now, we want to replicate that, because we know how much it means to everybody. They know how much it means to me. I know how much it means to the players, and we all know how much it means to the supporters.
Just on Patrick, I mean, given what you've said about experience, how important is it that you've got not just Patrick, you've got Tom Davis, you've got Danny Ings, as you mentioned, Ben Mee, characters like that around the place, even if they're not on the field at any given time, how important is their influence?
The championship really is based on a lot of things, but the experience of the competition is absolutely huge, and without going too much into it, Stu, the team that started at the start of the season to the team that I'm trying to hopefully piece together now, from an attitude point of view, from a culture point of view, and then in January kicking on in terms of the changes that we need to make as well to bring that experience into the football club. You look at all the teams in and around the top of the division, there's not really a lot of young players floating about. you get the odd one or two, but if you look at Coventry, if you look at Middlesbrough, if you look at the other teams at the top, in and around the top, you know, and usually the Championship is that division because how tough it is. And there'll be some players that come in and grow, like the players that we had last season, like your Siddies and Harrison Burrows and Michael Coopers. But the experience of and know-how, whether not always from the coaching and management point of view, but you know, players that are learning their trade season on, sitting next to the likes of Danny Ings and Ben Mee and Tom Davis and Pat and the other guys, and just learning and watching how they go about the business, how they go about the work in the gym, how they go about handle themselves around the place, what they do on the training ground, the extras that they do, what has given them the careers that they've had. You know, especially if you look at Pat, you look at Danny, and you look at Ben Mee. You know, they've all had outstanding careers at the top end of English football, and there's a reason why they have. So great for our young players to learn, and the calming experience and vibe that them boys will give off, the confidence that them boys will give off on Sunday afternoon. That doesn't mean that they'll dip the toe in. That doesn't mean they won't run around and be committed and have a desire to win a game of football, because they've had that every week for 20 years. That's why they've got to that stage, Stu, and they'll get it. They'll understand just as much as what the boy from Arbourthorne understands it, or somebody off of another estate or close, or a Carl Walker. They'll all understand it, or a Billy Sharp. They'll understand it just as much because of their experience and understanding of the game.
And I'm sure Patrick's very fit at the moment. Where is he in terms of match fitness right now?
Yeah, no, he's okay. I mean, there was a lazy sort of assumption that he's really struggled over the past 2 years. You know, he hasn't. He's had a couple of injuries, but his availability for Leeds last year was there to be seen. I think 37 games that he was available for, which is a big chunk of the season. He didn't get in the team because they were flying and they're winning games of football. So, and the manager went with a different approach. And Pat's situation at the start of the season, the reason why he didn't have a club, he had some issues with Leeds United that he needed to smooth out, and eventually he smoothed them out, and he went to Coventry, and he had a really positive month there. Great recommendation off Frank for myself, and it was some fine details that sort of opened the door for us. As soon as that became available for us, number 9 is a massive position for me. I think that's where we've struggled. We haven't had an option to go into. You know, if a team presses us, we haven't had an option to miss it out and go into the front. We have to play one way a little bit, and it's sort of shut down our options, where we had quite a few options last season to change up in the way we played, whether it was the start of a game or whether it was during a game. And Pat definitely gives us that. He's come in. His attitude's been great. He's got on with boys. He knows obviously the majority of the boys. He knows Jamie Shackleton from Leeds. He knows a lot of the other lads as well. So he's fitted in. Played 45 minutes on Tuesday. He's trained. Do I think he can go and play 390 minutes on the spin? No. So we'll have to sort of manage his minutes as we have done for a few of them. But he'll be definitely on the pitch on Sunday, and I wouldn't be surprised if he starts one of the 2 games that are up and coming.
And just on the number 9s, they seem to be coming a bit more back into fashion, like a lot of things are right now. But there's not many of them knocking about, is there? Because the last few years, sort of number 10's taken over as the glamour position from number 9. So in terms of when you identified that area, how difficult is it to find players to play that job?
Well, it is, yeah. I think English number 9s as well, and are very hard to source. And so we've got a young one in the building that is learning his trade, who we think is going to have a really good career, but maybe not learning on the job at the moment because needs must really. But he'll be a good player for us as well. But Yeah, definitely. You see it all along. You know, you see what Arsenal have got. They went and got Gyökeres. I'm sure that, you know, 2 or 3 years ago, people would have been scratching their head and saying, what are the Arsenal going and getting somebody who's played in Portugal and played in the Championship. Now he's, you know, he is a top player, or was going to be a top player in my opinion, and he's playing for arguably the best team in the country. So there's him, there's the boy at Newcastle, you know what Brentford have done, you know, Danny Welbeck at Brighton in his so-called unbelievably footballing team. So I think definitely there's a place for a number 9, and obviously the biggest one is obviously the player at Manchester City who isn't too bad. So I've always loved the number 9. I think it's crucial from my point of view that we play the game in 3 different ways if we have to. We're not just stuck into this one way of playing, and we can mix it up. And if we have to play through teams, around teams, over teams, we'd do that. And definitely it's a fabulous addition to have that player at our disposal.
And just lastly from me, you mentioned sort of decisions in terms of balancing Patrick's minutes. You've got a lot of players obviously who've come back to fitness in this international break. How difficult a balance is that going to be in terms of how many you can put in at any one time, how you have to juggle?
Yeah, it's part and parcel of the game now. I think everybody's talking about it. So we are managing minutes, and that has been a little bit of a hindrance to us when we have sports science guys talking about, you know, when we're talking about the 60 minutes, you know, 65 minutes, we've got to change it. We usually change it at the top of the pitch to allow the subs to come on and make an impact as well. So that's always been the case, but when you're having to make physical substitutions, it obviously limits your options later on. But the flip side is that if we do gamble early on in the season, and I lose a player for, you know, because we're tempted for him to go another 5, 10, 15 minutes longer, and we lose players through injury, that's possibly the most frustrating thing, because we have to, you know, for me, especially leading up to Christmas, we have to keep everybody fit and available as much as possible, but at the same time looking at the minutes and hopefully them getting minutes from the off, or whether they're coming on and impacting the game.
And you won't want to give your hand away obviously, but all those players who were sort of targeting this game for a return, are they all at least in consideration?
All in consideration, yeah, all in consideration.
Thanks, Chris.
Cheers, Stu.
Hi, Chris.
Arif.
Is this the type of game where you learn the most about your players in terms of the welcome that they get and how they deal with that to everything to leaving?
No, not really. No, I know. I'm getting to know these players. I know a lot about them. I don't need to know about Ben Mee. I don't need to know about Danny Ings. I don't need to know about Pat Bamford. I don't need to know about Gus Amer, Callum Aware, Tyrese. So, if you look at that, we just got to keep working. There's all different ways of people putting different narratives to it. It's a local derby. There's no need for motivation. Shouldn't be any need for motivation playing a single game of professional football. So the environment and the atmosphere will take care of itself. And as we said, it's the team that implements the things that they want to implement the best that's going to get that result.
And if this game was played a couple of weeks ago, it probably would have been a very different atmosphere to what it will be now. Does that help, hinder?
No, we were expecting 30,000 to be in there. We've dealt with it on the past 6 occasions where we've had full houses. So there's no issue in terms of dealing with that. In a way, it might have been even more difficult if there were only like 12, 13, 14,000 in there, because you don't really. As I said, you see those situations as well, and it doesn't really give you the snap that sometimes you need. But there it is. Whatever the situation is, you have to deal with it, and it's a full house, and we're looking forward to it.
And we've seen over the international break with England and Scotland the need of how the whole squad can have an impact, not just the 11, and how the full squad, the 15, 16, can have a real impact at any point in the game.
We've always looked at that. I've looked at that for the last 15, 20 years of management. So we always have to utilise everybody in the group, and the importance of everybody, especially in the Championship, when we're coming back off an international break, and we're in the start of a really incredibly important week of football. Sheffield Wednesday away, Portsmouth at home, and Leicester City away on Saturday. So everybody knows the importance of it, and buying into it as a group than as an individual.
And just find out, what does Patrick bring to the team that you didn't have before?
Well, we haven't got number 9. It's as simple as that. He's a number 9. He holds it up. He runs down the side. He gets in the box. He links it. He's strong. He's experienced. He's scored goals. He's got a good character, good personality, good experience. So I think I've just wrote his CV for you there. I think. Cheers.